everyone. Welcome to Handing the Shame Back. I'm Gloria Masters, your host. And today we have part 2 with Cathy Studer all the way from Ohio. Part 1 was phenomenal. Before we start, as always, trigger warning team, simply because something that may be shared or said could have you feeling anxious or upset. If that happens, go to the show notes below, stop watching, and you'll be guided to some help and resource. Just a quick recap on Cathy. So she's a survivor, she's an award-winning author, she's a child sexual abuse prevention advocate and a mental health advocate. I'm proud of myself that I can say all that. A quick recap on her story. From the age of 6 until the age of 12, she was sexually abused by her stepfather, who had a few evil twists in there. He ensured her silence by telling her 2 things. 1, that her mother knew he was doing this, and 2, that she would never want to speak to Cathy about it. How evil and sick is that? We then have Mum leap in at age 12 and rescue her. And it's such a wonderful story. Please go back to part 1 and watch that. So in this second part, Cathy is going to talk to us a little more about the impact on her, what helped her, and kind of what she's doing now. So over to you, Cathy. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be back. And it is a journey. It is quite the journey afterwards. I definitely went into my teen years and early adulthood feeling so much shame and not knowing my worth or not knowing my value. And I made very, very poor choices with boyfriends, to be very honest.
Yes.
And we tend to do that as survivors because we don't know our worth, and it's hard to make better choices, especially when we feel we're bad. And it wasn't until I met my husband, that I'm grateful for, that things started to shift. And my true healing journey started when I was pregnant with my son, because that was the moment for myself, the realization that I want to be the best that I can be, to be the best mom that I could be.
Yes.
And I wanted to do everything within my power that my children never felt the way that I did. And within that meant that I had to dedicate time for myself to heal, to do what I could to recover, because I didn't want my past to define me. I didn't want that to continue having power over me. And it was gradual. Excuse me. It took time. And there were actually 6 attributes that I applied in my healing journey. I'm not going to share all of them here. They can read my book, Broken to Beautifully Whole, to find out. But I want to share the ones that I think were the most important for me, that had the biggest impact. And one of them was my gratitude journal. And I started that probably mid to late 20s. And I could tell that it made me feel better when I did it on a regular basis.
Wow.
And it took time, and I could find a little more joy and a little more happiness coming to the surface as I added gratitude into my life. It was an important piece of feeling better about myself. And the second one that we talked about earlier, and if I had to list my 6 attributes, I would say this one is the most important, and that is self-compassion. I think it is the most important for survivors to add into your life, and start by knowing that or at least leaning into knowing that you are worthy of self-love. You are worthy of healing, and give yourself grace. As we talked about in part one, messy, or you started here, healing is not a straight trajectory. As much as we wish it to be, we would hope it to be,
Yes.
it's messy.
Yeah.
It's more like squiggles, and it comes with setbacks because it's not easy and it's hard, and we're gradually trying to take those pieces and pull ourselves back together to become whole again because we deserve that. And self-compassion was an important piece for myself. And the biggest reason why that I would want survivors to know is shame and self-compassion cannot sit side by side.
Yeah.
There's not enough room for both of them. And the gift of when we add more self-compassion, it dissolves the shame of
So,
knowing.
yeah, sorry.
No,
So,
no, no, go ahead.
so how has that, like, you know, as you're talking of, it's just beautiful what you're offering. And I guess I can only imagine what you had to experience to reach that place of understanding. Are you able to share with our wonderful audience, hello, lovely ones, welcome back, um, what that was like for you? So, the impact on you from turning that shame into self compassion. How did it show itself, and then what were you able to do? Because I think people can really relate with some of what you're saying here today. So, are you able to do that, Cathy? What happened for you to reach that?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was actually sitting in a doctor's office waiting for a doctor, my gynecologist, and she had a Psychology Today magazine sitting on the table. And while I was waiting, I picked it up, and inside the magazine, it talked about self-compassion and what it looked like and what it meant. And I remember reading it, looking down and thinking, I don't have any of this, not even an iota. Is that I walked away. First of all, after I left the appointment, I went and bought the magazine and I took it home and I just paused and I reflected and thought, is this something that I could adopt into my life? Is this something that I could do? And it made a couple suggestions. And one of that was just simply self care, doing something for yourself. And it could be as simple as meditation. It could be as simple as time for prayer. Everybody has their own choice. Or a Epsom salt bath with lavender oil, or it could be going to get your hair done. It could be a massage. It could be just walking in the woods, but something for yourself, something to make yourself feel better about yourself. And I gradually started with that. And then the second thing that it mentioned was being aware of our negative self conversations
Your
and
thoughts,
trying,
catching your thoughts. Yes.
yes, and trying to shift that, meaning, oh, why did I do that? That was so dumb. Why did I make that mistake?
Yes.
Or I'm not good enough to try for that job. I'm just not good enough. Or I'm not good enough to know the type of person I should be dating, to know the type of person I should marry, or to know anything of value for yourself, that you are worthy. And that starts by shifting the negative self conversations to, you know what? I do deserve that.
And I love what you're saying there, because I think what happens is there's a couple of things that that sit inside that, because uh, for us as survivors, we experienced that which we hated and instinctively felt repelled by and scared of, but did not want. We knew it was wrong. We knew that, yet we weren't allowed to act on that. So I'm not surprised that as survivors, we struggle at times with believing or acting on what we instinctively know to be correct and true, like self-care, like
Yeah.
stopping for a lunch break, like not pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion,
Yeah.
like letting someone help at times when you think, oh, I should probably do it all myself. So I'm not surprised. To me, it all began back then when we knew the truth. We always felt it was wrong, but we could never act on it. So I just wondered, around that as a link, and Cathy, to what you're saying. But equally, you said something at the beginning of part two, and I think it's powerful for survivors watching this. We had no choice actually but to attract that to us which felt familiar. So, in attracting those boyfriends that weren't okay, and attracting to those ones listening and watching, those people that aren't good for you or that were in your life, of course you did. We're all templated with what is familiar. What is familiar, Cathy, was being abused, being shut down, being told to keep your silence, and also having some very cruel things occur. How on earth would you ever attract the polar opposite? What do you think of that?
Oh, it's hard. It is so hard. And it takes time. And, I think what helped me when I met my husband, um, and he even had things in his life, quite honestly, not abuse. He didn't have the sexual abuse or anything like that, but he had some things that even he was working through. So, he at least he was a much better man than anyone else that I had ever dated. But I think it's hard. I think it's hard to attract, but we can with time. And I think there's something inside of us, even if we can't identify it, there's a point in time where we see and know we deserve better. And even before I could fully adapt self compassion, I think there is a piece of attracting better
Yeah.
because our soul deep down knows we deserve better.
I guess it's just moving through that not feeling deserving and lack of
Yeah.
self-worth to then believing it's possible, or it's should be the way it is. Cathy, what are when you think about, your own healing and what you went through, are there, you've talked about gratitude as being really useful and resourceful. You've talked about self-compassion. You've talked about, potentially paraphrasing here, but the negative self-thinking or conversations that you had and being able to turn those around. What are you actually, in terms of impact, now doing in your life as a survivor, award-winning author, advocate for child sexual abuse survivors and mental health? What are you doing in this space?
Well, I still do my gratitude journal because I do. That is important. I don't do it as much, but I do it every week, and I do it at least 3 to 4 times a week because I think it is important for our mental and our emotional health. And I'm aware of my outlook on life, my perspective, because that matters with my joy. And most of the time, I'm a glass half full person,
Yes,
but there's days where I'm not. And you know what? That's okay. That's normal. We are human. And I then shift to when I do have one of those days, I shift to the self care, I shift to the self compassion, and, what can I do for myself to make myself feel better? What does that look like? Maybe even, and this sounds crazy, but it works. Hugs, a self hug. Believe it or not, it really, really works. And again, that walk in nature, that bath, that meditation, whatever it is for yourself. And for me, it is that an addition of the gratitude journal within the self-compassion and giving myself grace, knowing that, it's okay to have a bad day. I'm going to feel it and I'm going to move through it and I'm going to do something for myself to make myself feel better. And tomorrow's going to be a better day because I would want everyone to know that all of us are going to have bad days, even no matter how strong we are, no matter how much we've healed. But it's okay to feel it. It's okay to have that bad day. We just don't always want to unpack and live there. And
exactly.
that starts with a choice.
So, I love that, and I think that's so cool. And that self hug, that cradling, is just so powerful and beautiful. And thank you for raising that, Cathy. What are you doing now? I realise we've got about 8 minutes left. What are you doing now? I don't want to miss out on the work you're currently doing and the books you've written. Can you tell us all about that?
Sure. Gosh, I'd be honored to. Thank you for asking. One of the things that I do after my first book, I connected with an organization called NCAN, and that's the National Center or the National Foundation, I'm sorry, to End Child Abuse and Neglect. And they, 3 years ago, came to me and wanted to do walks, which had never happened before around the world, anywhere in the world, to end child abuse. And they asked me to be the event lead for a walk in Columbus, Ohio. And I said yes. So I am honored to say we've now had 3 walks and we have raised over $148,000 to go towards ending child abuse, whether it's in research, prevention, education, and advocacy. So that has been an honor to connect to them. And I when you and I first talked, if you would have told me 6 years ago I'd write my book and share my very vulnerable story, I never thought I would, but I am so honored to say that the book has gone on to win a few awards. And because of that, I've had the opportunity to speak. And within speaking, I had someone suggested me the 6 attributes that I do share in my book to turn them into children's books. And so I am in the process of doing that. They are nearing the end. It will be a series of 6 books with forest animals. And the books are meant to be a fun tool to help children build stronger mental and emotional health.
Oh,
And
that is so beautiful. Please tell me rabbits in there.
well, indirectly, you'll see little bunny rabbits in a few of the books.
Yay!
So
Kathy, that's
I'm
beautiful.
Thank you. I'm very excited about that because it's important. As everyone knows, our youth are in a little bit of a mental health crisis, and there's way too much depression, too much suicide, and I believe we can shift that. And that was the need that I saw to get these children's books out there because the number one consequence for child sexual abuse, there's many consequences, many, as we all know, but the number one is mental health consequences. And the reason I wrote my book was because I had a client of mine who struggled with depression, anxiety, and PTSD, and I never knew why. And she's also a sexual abuse survivor. And she asked me why I didn't suffer quite to her degree, and I had a healing journey. And my book was the answer to her question that I couldn't answer that day.
Mm, it's so beautiful. And I'm so grateful to you. Thank you, because giving our beautiful children and teenagers the opportunity to find some tools for themselves in terms
Yes.
of providing what they didn't know was there, I think is just so beautiful. Well done, Cathy.
Oh,
And
thank you.
as well as doing your award-winning author piece, um, you also do some other work. So what do you do in the mental health space?
Well, in the mental health space, I've gone out and talked to groups and organizations and shared the 6 attributes that I have in my book that actually rework the brain in a positive manner. Because when my client asked me that question that day, I couldn't answer it, but my research led me to being able to answer that. And the gift is all of us can do things that we add in our life that actually start to work our brain in a positive way that will reduce depression, anxiety, and PTSD for all of us. Can't promise it'll take it away, but I can promise it will reduce.
That's
And
it. Oh,
yes,
and where can people find your work, your books? Do you have a website? Are you on Amazon? Can you tell us? I will put it all in the show notes, but it's actually great for people to be able to find all of this.
absolutely. Thank you for asking. They can at cathystuder.com, which is my website. And my first book, Broken to Beautifully Whole, is on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And the upcoming children's books are soon to come as well on Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
It's beautiful. And Cathy, just as we've got a couple of minutes, I guess, is there anything you would like to share that you haven't had the opportunity to as yet?
I would finish with this that I would invite all survivors to really give yourself grace. Grace is so important in the healing journey. All of us heal differently, and all of us heal in different ways. And it isn't a straight trajectory, but grace is the most important gift that you could give yourself as you walk through this journey, and know you are not alone. You are never alone. And I love, Gloria, when you said that you are loved and I believe you, because I think those are some of the most important words that a survivor can hear.
Thank you. Thank you, Cathy. Please stay there.
Oh,
Hey,
thank you.
hey, survivors. Wow, I've gone all goosey. I imagine some of you have as well. And what Cathy's been able to gift us with today is those hallmarks of abuse, that's that lack of self-worth, that feeling of shame, not being able to have clear boundaries, specifically body boundaries. They're just some, and then being able to share with us, some of the attributes, and in terms of the gratitude, the self-compassion, self-love, and being able to work with the negative self-talk or conversations that we all have. I guess one of the powerful things for me equally was, give yourself permission to not have a good day. Give yourself permission to get it wrong. Give yourself permission to move backwards. That's how we grow. So, as always, beautiful ones, it's such an honour to bring this to you. And I see you, I stand beside you, and I believe you.